Have you ever lived by yourself?
No. But I totally could, which is why I haven't.
You totally could.
But like, if you would let me be a hermit, I will. So like early sobriety,
Yeah.
I was not a good candidate to live alone. Because
Yes.
like the fellowship aspect, I love, but like.
I would personally suggest like you don't live alone in early sobriety.
Yeah, me
but
neither.
It's obviously anybody can make their own decision.
Yeah, I would suggest you live with lots of other people also getting sober.
Yes. This is my first time living alone.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I enjoyed a lot. And I didn't think I would. I thought I was going to be a girl scared for my safety on a daily basis.
No,
But it's
that's
like,
not me. Could never be.
But I'm not even like, I don't think like that when I'm like at home. Like I have this fear of like, oh, somebody's going to break in or I'm going to get.
When you're at home?
No, that's what I thought my fears were going to be.
Who did you live with in LA?
So sober living was my first experience living in LA.
Okay.
I was in a house with 30 women.
Yeah.
Then I went to a house with 12 women.
Doable, should be done.
And then I went to an apartment, my first apartment, but with a roommate.
Yeah.
And then just her. And we had like the same amount of clean time. And
how many years do you have now?
3 in 1 month.
Oh my God, you just celebrated?
No, in 1 month I'll have 3, God willing.
When's your sobriety date?
August 1st.
Oh, mine's July 9th. So we're like.
Oh, you're right around the corner.
I know.
You have how much?
I'll have 4 years on July 9th. I know. It's insane. So part of why I just got back from Atlanta, I was in Atlanta making On My Amends tour.
Oh.
Which is a great and wild. But my therapist actually circling back was like, I think it's a really good idea for you to live alone. Like I
love that they suggested that.
I know.
But yeah, I had that fear of like bugs. That was like really my only fear. Bugs. Also feeling lonely.
Yes.
When I first got sober, I honestly just didn't want to spend time by myself.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I didn't find it simple or comforting to do things by myself, going to the grocery store, just lounging. Like I couldn't imagine myself being alone doing those things.
I'm totally that way and I feel like that, but I consume so much television that it almost feels as though I'm not alone.
I think that's why I love TV.
Yeah.
I'm a part of this.
I'm a part of this. These are my friends.
I'm in this. I know you, you know me.
Right. We're cooking together. We're taking a bath together. Like you are constantly with me and I am you. I
honestly sometimes think of it as concerning, but
you got to pick your battles. That's how I feel about vaping. Like I don't want to fucking talk about vaping. I'm going to vape.
It's able to quit.
Yeah.
We're not quitting vaping.
No, ever.
I forgot how we got on that, but I love living alone. I realized I love my own company.
Yeah.
And it's a blast. And I actually look forward to, oh my God, I'm going to lay down on the couch.
Do you have your cat?
No.
Are you going to get like a pet? A pet is a game changer living alone.
I know,
but it's a lot of responsibility. Like I can't just bebop around. I have to go back.
Exactly.
I have to walk him. A cat's, I think, more doable because you don't have to do all of that.
100%. But I struggle with commitment. And I'm learning how to take care of myself. Okay. I feel very bad that I abandoned my cats at my parents' house. I feel like a horrible mom for that.
You're like 21, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't commit to a pet right now, though I want one.
Yeah.
But I know it wouldn't be good for them because like I like to travel. I like to not have to worry. Like say I want to go out of the country for a week, like how I am in 3 weeks.
Right. Where are you going? London?
London, then Amsterdam, and then back to London.
That's so fun. Yes. And then you have to get someone to watch them. It's expensive to get someone to watch them. And then you got to worry about them. Are they behaving? My dog is embarrassing. I'm going to get the phone call. I hope this is my only experience with like having the weird kid, but my dog is the weird kid. So like only certain people can watch him. Like he can only be around certain company. Like he is high maintenance.
Well, I'm excited for you. Wait, you're now moving.
I move on July 5th into my own apartment.
I love that.
But I move out of this apartment on June 30th.
How old are you?
27.
Wait, so where are you going in between?
The Finger Lakes. My friends are going to the Finger Lakes and they have to drive through Maryland to go up there. Oh. So they're going to stop by and pick me up, and I'm storing my stuff at Lane and Gigi's for the week because they live in the neighborhood. So they're kindly letting me. I'm 27, ripped my youth. I definitely I never felt like this, but I turned like 23, 24 years old and I was like, oh my God, I'm so old. And then like every year since then, I've been like, I have 3 eggs left. Like, I will never procreate.
Why
like,
do we?
I don't know.
Literally at dinner last night, we were talking about how I am 21 and my bestest and closest friends are in their 30s, 40s. Mm-hmm. As I'm turning older, like 22, like when 22 comes around, I'm like, oh, I don't know about that number. Yeah. But it's like, I really don't view my friends as like these old people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. My best friend who I just went to visit, who I'm going to the Finger Lakes with, is 45. Mm-hmm. My mom's 49. And she has a 16-year-old child. He and I are closer in age than she and I. But she is my absolute best friend. And I don't look at her like, I talk to her about sex. Like, I talk to her about, you know, all kinds of things that I would not talk to my mom about. But like, I don't view her as like, you're old. Like, we go shopping together. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's necessarily, I definitely have a fear of aging.
A fear of aging.
Mm-hmm. But it's more like not.
It's kind of been pushed to the back of my mind a lot more recently. It's like the last thing I'm thinking about is aging at the moment. But it's definitely there. Yeah. It's going to creep up.
It will.
It's going to creep back up.
It will hit you on your 23rd birthday. Good luck.
I believe that. So I brought you on the podcast. I've known you for about 2 months.
Yeah. Has it been that long?
Yeah. My 3 months in Baltimore is right around the corner.
Oh my God.
Time flies.
Yeah.
It really does fly. And I remember I told you about Fuck the Stigma and I sent you my battle with self-stigma video. Yeah. And you said you really strongly related and resonated with it. And I kind of wanted to hear about that. What did you relate to in the video? I talked a lot about what it was like growing up in North Carolina.
Yes.
Struggling with like even owning my ethnicity.
Yeah.
Struggling with sexuality.
Yeah.
Speaking Spanish. All these different things, just not feeling really in place. Like I'm out of place.
Right. Yeah. So I watched that. Well, when we had our first conversation, we just like dove right in because that's how I am,
and that's how I prefer it.
Yeah.
I need that.
I'm like, tell me your trauma. Like, what did your parents' divorce do to you? Like, I need to know that first meeting. And we talked about you getting braids for the first time, which was wild because I had been thinking about getting braids for some time. Mm-hmm. And that, you know, hairstyles are so intertwined with like race and how I appear to other people and things like that. Mm-hmm. So like, although, and as we'll get into, I've come so far on my race journey, hair is still a way where I'm still like, I don't know. I don't know that I can commit. I'm not comfortable. And I still have this, I guess, this view in some that I've been like conditioned to think that I'm viewed as white sometimes. So I think like that's a big step in owning my ethnicity is to have braids because I think that's a clear way to be like, I am not white. You know what I mean? So I have decided to get them. We're going on vacation to Turks and Caicos in December, my family. So I'm getting braids for the Caribbean.
I love that. That's where I'm from. That's where my family's from. Is
Turks and Caicos? Oh. Dominican Republic.
In the Caribbean, yes.
So am I. Mm-hmm. So my ethnic background is my dad's family is from Trinidad. Okay. So my dad and his sisters were born here. My grandparents immigrated from Trinidad in 60s or 70s. And my mom is of mostly Irish descent, maybe a little Italian. There's probably some other Aryan nations sprinkled in there.
Some other Caucasian.
Yeah, but she's a white woman. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's like a lot of conversations, which I'm glad people are having about what it means to be biracial.
What does it kind of mean to you? What do you think? What are you like forging it to mean? So because you're figuring that out a little bit.
I'm figuring that out, and what it means is to be both. And so I think that in a lot of people's heads, a biracial person either adopts a Black culture or a white culture. Yeah. Right? And then deals with, and this is definitely part of my story, not being accepted by either. Kind of, and having to toe that line of you're not white enough or you're not Black enough. And I think that being biracial is a race in itself, right? That can have its own culture that doesn't have to belong to either. Like you can be proud to be both, to be biracial, to like talk however you want, present yourself however you want. Like you, I grew up in a rural community. I don't know, is Winston-Salem rural? Would you call it rural?
Where I ended up moving in 8th grade, it's rural.
Yeah.
Like Town area.
How many black kids are in your graduating class?
So I actually I decided not to go to the school in my district because I went there my freshman year, despised it. Right. I couldn't list one.
Yeah.
Then I went to a school downtown, and that I could name multiple, but.
Well, let me ask you, how do you identify?
I said,
before
identify.
What's going on here?
So.
What box are you checking?
I'm Dominican. I've been telling people that.
Okay.
Like they're like, hey, what's your ethnicity? Yeah. Dominican. Everybody comes up to me like, Laisha, you're black, right?
Right.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I
haven't done the DNA test. Right. I'm sure there's like black heritage in like Dominican culture, but I just say I'm Dominican.
Yeah.
I identify as Dominican, but I've like fit into so many other boxes that aren't that. Right. If that makes sense. Like I've never been part of this, like, I've never had a Dominican like colleague or a friend or acquaintance.
Okay. Do you go to the hair salons?
No.
Like there's specifically, I love to go to them because they use the perfect amount of heat. Like I want my hair pin straight, and they're getting it. Like I love a Dominican hair salon.
My mom would do my hair growing up, and I really related with the hair journey you were kind of talking about earlier, because with that, I recently just got my braids basically right when I moved to Baltimore. Because I've been bleaching my hair for the past 3 years. And I
bright blonde.
Yeah, blonde. I couldn't stop. And then I started doing other fun colors, red, purple, blue, all this. I was doing a lot with it.
Right.
Damaging it. And I realized, obviously, with damaging it, it's like making it straight.
Yeah.
The pattern straight. Okay. And I have curly hair. Okay. Like, it's thick.
Okay. I'm like, how curly gonna be?
It's
I believe you. It's curly.
It's really curly. And I realized I was like, I'm kind of, the purpose, I think subconsciously, was kind of to destroy my curl pattern.
Yes.
I was really thinking on like not doing that anymore, destroying my hair, like scalp health, hair health. And I decided January to like grow out my hair again. I went to I dyed it my natural color.
Okay.
And I decided to grow it out, which I wasn't sure about. I was like, I'm going to try it out.
Right.
If I fucking hate this process, I'm going to just stop. Again. Yeah, I'm just going to stop. But I committed, and I'm not good with this commitment stuff with anything.
Right.
And I was like, the awkward stage is not my vibe.
Yeah. And so that's why the braids, and they're protective.
The braids came in, and also with that on its own, my hair was short as well.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I used to get misgendered a lot in public, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's because of my fucking short hair. People think I'm trying to be a guy right now.
Right. I know it is difficult, and I found it difficult to now come out and like, because for the last, probably since the 2016 election, I have been very immersed into Black culture in a sense, as far as like being talking about being Black in groups of people.
That's when you started doing so?
Yeah, 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, and so 2016, I guess I'm 19.
What brought this up?
So let me back up. So I asked you about Winston-Salem because I'm from rural Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
We'll shout it out, Sykesville, Maryland, out in Carroll County. And there were not, I don't know how it is now, but there were not a lot of Black people there. And my parents split up when I was 6 months old. My dad's Black, my mom's white. My mom remarried, got into a relationship when I was like 2 with a white man. And they raised me, and he eventually adopted me. I have his last name. I have an older sister who's also biracial and a younger sister who's white. And so we were kind of like a family. And my mom, I know there's definitely not a thing as not being able to see color. That's not a thing. Everyone knows that's not a thing. But if there was, it would be my mom. Like she truly, like she'll tell a story and you have no idea the race of someone she's talking about, right? She doesn't find it. It wouldn't appear in her mind to be like, and I was talking to this Black guy, you know how you hear people say all the time. And always that made me like, why is that important to the story? Like, where are we going?
Did that have something to do with this?
Right, and like people throw it out, and my mom is not like that. But being not like that, she didn't necessarily, and we can have open conversations about my experience now, and she's so receptive. My mom is amazing.
So she didn't see your struggles growing up?
Absolutely not. And we did not talk about being Black in my household.
Okay.
And so we didn't talk about the fact that like when my friends went to go get their hair done, it would cost $100 and they could go to the white salon. But when I went to the white salon, it would cost $300 because I have so much hair and and I always wanted it straight. Like if I was going to get it done, you know, we didn't talk about things like that. I can remember growing up and being in like history class and immediately like getting anxiety to sit in a history class because I know we're going to talk about slavery and I know that things are going to get brought up. People are going to make jokes. Like even my best friends growing up threw around the N-word, like And I never said anything because like the worst thing you want to be when you're in middle and high school is different. Like I would rather you be like throwing out racist remarks than me be like, hey, I'm different. That hurts my feelings. You know? So like I didn't have those conversations with my mom. And what's really weird is that my sister, also biracial, we both, without talking to each other, denied being Black until like high school. Like people would be like, you know, what's your racial background? I'd be like, Italian. What do you mean? Like my family's from Sicily. Like, and people would be like, I can look back and cringe because people are like, no. But like growing up, I was, like I said, my mom's gene game is wild. I was like redheaded, blue-eyed, porcelain skin baby that grew into this like bleach blonde child. So white passing for a while, but my hair is extremely textured and has always been extremely textured. And my mom didn't know what to do with it because it's like
she doesn't have that hair.
She doesn't have that hair. No one around her has that hair, and she
nobody in your house, like house,
nobody
like
in my
the
household,
parents,
right? And I think had she been raising us now, she might have gone to like classes or read a book or been on YouTube. You know, but back then she didn't know what to do.
Would have took you to the Dominican salon.
Right. Would have taken me to we couldn't find one. There's none in Sykesville.
Yeah.
So she just like used the Japanese straighteners and perm my hair.
Relax.
And it damaged my hair.
Looking into those.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
But you had a Dominican mom. You have a Dominican mom. So like knows how to do your hair, right? In her own.
Yes. Yeah, because she's been doing it her whole life. Right. My mom is very resourceful woman.
Right.
But yeah, I looked into that because I wanted something more permanent.
Right.
It was a chore every week. It would take the whole day. I'm like, hey guys, I'm not available to hang out on Sunday.
I have to do my hair.
Right. It only take an hour. No.
Yeah, right.
It's an all-day task.
Right. You don't understand.
It's hard when people don't.
They don't get it.
It hurts because you want to change your hair. It's like. It's crazy how much your hair just affects the way you perceive yourself
absolutely.
and how you feel in a group of people.
Yes, I still struggle with that today. Like feeling different and a lot of times even today, like I have a much different group of friends, right? And much than I had growing up and like people that would not toss out racial remarks or things like that, but still I'm often the only person of color in the room. So, and people don't recognize that always is like, I am the only person of color. So really how I started on the journey circling back to 2016 is I got my first boyfriend who was a white man, but had been raised around, predominantly Black friends. So he like had the opposite experience as I did. So I remember like we were in kind of like an illicit, we're not supposed to be in this relationship. We met in rehab, like we were sneaking around and I had been sent to live with my biological father and his wife in Florida. So like for the first time I'm living in a Black household and we're talking about like Black culture and we're talking about politics and we're talking about, I don't think Black Lives Matter had really gotten big at this time, but like that sentiment to like Black people matter and like this is the experience and I could openly talk about the experience of being like biracial and be received really well on that and like understood and tell me more about that, kind of like surrounded by my Black family. And I started dating this guy and I'm like, we're on our way to go meet my biological father. He's going to meet my biological father. And he's like nervous. And in my head, I'm like, I wonder if he knows I'm Black or if this is going to be like a huge shock to him. And so I say, I'm like, you know, Chris is Black, right? And he looked at me like, yeah, like you're clearly biracial. I assume that I was meeting like a Black parent in some of this mix. And for him to be like, it never came up. Like he was never like, what ethnicity are you? He was never like, this is like the question that I don't never understand which parent is black. Like, what does that matter? Okay, what equation are you trying to get to in this? And so like he like I would sleep with the bonnet on, like I would, and he never even like asked. He wasn't like, what are you wearing or whatever. Like it was so normal to him, and like it normalized my experience. And like I look back on that,
so cute.
It's cute. We had an awful, toxic, horrible relationship, but that aspect of it was like I came into my own with him, and just like this, and it wasn't like a fetishizing thing, but he like really appreciated the beauty of Black women and would talk freely about that, and biracial women, and it just didn't matter to him. And I like realized, I think for the first time, which is so sad at 18 years old, to realize like I'm beautiful despite my ethnic background. Like I look back and think of that like young girl growing up thinking that like because of how she was born, she's not beautiful, or like the world views her as ugly, or like I'm less than, which is so intertwined with my addiction, like that just feeling of being less than and trying to like be someone I'm not constantly. So I got that experience with him, which kind of launched me, and I was living in Florida, which is a super multicultural place, which kind of launched me into this trajectory that I've been on in the last like almost 10 years of just like learning about Black culture, and kind of going to the other side of like kind of feeling a little bit of shame that I hadn't grown up with that, and that I didn't know a lot of like the some of like jokes, or like you'll see on social media people post memes about like growing up with a Black mother or something like that, and like those things I didn't relate to. I like didn't get, although like my mom is wonderful, and like we've had these conversations, and she'll be like, I'm so sorry, why did you not say anything? And I was like, I didn't know that that's something you said to your parents. Like I just didn't want to be different. I didn't want to talk about it.
So when you were growing up, did you were mainly surrounded around white people?
100%.
I feel like that was mainly what was around, like in the like middle school and like early high school times,
right?
I think I like wanted to be more like them. I mean, a lot of, as I said, a lot of people think I'm mixed.
Right.
So I feel like part of me wanted to own whiteness when there probably isn't much white in me.
Right.
Because I like took into account like the complexion of my skin. Like I'm not too dark.
Right.
And I just wanted to be like the kind of like the cool people in school and such.
Yeah, I was deeply, deeply ashamed of being Black, and like did not want that to ever be the topic of conversation, which is probably why I would allow people in my company to say things that I would not allow these days. Like you can ask my friends now, like I'm the educator. I shouldn't be, but I'll check someone real quick for saying something a little sideways about race in my company, which like I think back to like the little girl version of me who would probably be proud that this is what I've like come into, is just like owning that and not allowing people ever to like make me feel less than based on my race, which is a big thing. But yes, I totally like worshipped whiteness. Totally like wanted my hair to be straight. Love the fact that I have very Irish skin in the way that I don't anymore because I'm getting old and I'm already having wrinkles. Like I'm not in the black don't crack category, which is unsettling, but I burn in the sun. Like I fry, and I always thought that was like that attributed to my whiteness.
Indicator. She's white.
Yeah. She's white. Yeah, indicator. Exactly. And I wouldn't wear sunscreen because I wanted to burn. Because if I burn, then I'm going to get white. Yeah, it's crazy. It's sick stuff. Which now, like, even into the my whatever of like owning my Blackness, I still didn't wear sunscreen for a little while. And I was like, why do I do that? Like, this is awful. This hurts really bad. Skin health. Like this is not okay. And like knowing that those kinds of things were so intertwined with growing up being like ashamed of my race.
Yeah. What you said your addiction kind of played a role in something. Was it your self-esteem with everything, or?
Sure. I think it was just that from a very, very young age, you want to hear something sad? I used to, like, my first experience with God when I was really young. I remember like looking in the mirror and being like, God, please make me white. And like that is how intertwined it was at a young age that I wanted to be someone I wasn't and that I was never going to be.
Yeah.
And so when my addiction like really took off, I remember like thinking it was really cool that people were doing hard drugs. And like, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be like I wanted to be super bad. And that's like not someone that I was, but I was just I had no sense of self. I had built no sense of self other than like adopting from what I saw was cool or what it was okay.
What you perceived as cool.
What I perceived as cool, right. And then the race stuff kind of got lost in my addiction because once it really took off, like I didn't have time to care about what people thought I was. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going to be sick. So like, I don't care what you think I am. Do you have what I need to not be sick? I do. I think that's like really, really intertwined. And I think that I've spent the last couple of years really unpacking that. And it's like and my sister and I, my older sister, we definitely have conversations about like our experience with race and especially about being a lot of times still, I don't know so much about her, but for me being the only person of color, like in a friend group or in a room and navigating that, like, am I doing something like you know?
Why is that happening?
Right. Why does that continue to happen? Is it like, that's what I'm used to? Or is there, you know,
it's
like.
a good question. It's like, it's really food for thought. Like I could not give you an answer.
It's food for thought.
Because I go through the same thing. I'm typically the one of color.
The color. Yeah, the one of color. And I think that a lot could be said about 12-step not being, super representative of the communities which people suffer in, right? I think that in some instances of the Black community, they don't look at 12-step in a similar way. Maybe I shouldn't generalize. I'm going to say I don't see a lot of Black people of color, Spanish people in the rooms.
Very true.
Yeah.
I've seen more Hispanics than I have Black people.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that and 12-step has become a major part of my life, and a lot of the people I hang out with are sober, so I find like friend groups within there, but of course they're like different. I can't say enough about how different and different minded than it was when I was like 15 in Sykesville, like ashamed of being Black, you know?
Isn't it beautiful how much our opinions and our ideas of ourselves and the world change?
Yeah.
For me,
gift.
Yes, and it happened in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like the way I even perceived myself before is nothing like how I perceive myself now, or the world, or my relationships with other people, my interactions with other people. I used to always think there was some sort of gain in you talking to me or me talking to you.
Yeah. Like everything was transactional, 100%. And it is. It's like a beautiful thing. It happened pretty fast for me too, where like one day I just decided that this is who I am and this is gonna be who I am, and like I can deny that, and people I was at a certain age where people starting to get weirded out, like you're clearly lying, like you are clearly lying. And so like I could deny that, or I could like embrace and learn like, okay, that's just one part. Who am I deeper than that? But you can't even get there before you start.
Yeah, like we're not all this is something I always emphasize in almost every podcast, because I think in a lot of what we talk about on the platform has to do with like we're labeling a little bit,
right?
Like I have bipolar or I'm an addict,
right?
And all these things where it's like just to make sure I want you to know, because this is a process for me. Like that's not all I am, right? Like I'm not just a Dominican. I'm not just an alcoholic. Right. I'm not just an addict. Right. I'm not just somebody who struggles with mental health disorders. Right. Like that's all those things are part of like what I experience and like why I have certain things. Actually, but kind of trying to detach from that a little bit.
Right. And I found that in my experience, acceptance of those things has become my way to detach from them as my labels. Like once I accept that like I, am a person that struggled with addiction, like a pretty bad addiction for a little bit of time, or I am a biracial person, or I'm someone that struggles with like depression or anxiety. Once I accepted those, then they can become not everything I am.
Yeah.
Because the harder I fight that they're consuming when I'm fighting that. Like, because that is all I see, right?
That is so true.
And again, that just ties back to like the inability to accept who I am, right? And like what I am, and the harder
and
that
what is normal,
right? And the harder that I fight that, the more it becomes like overwhelming. And just like anything else in my life, like the more prone I am to acceptance, like the better everything else inside of me is. Because then I can like be like, oh, I'm someone who likes puzzles, or like someone who like really likes reality TV, or you know, I'm this or that, or kind, or I'm not kind all the time, but like I try and be kind. I feel like that's a part of who I am. Like those
you're human.
Those building blocks, as long as there's like a label attached to it, I like hesitate from labels.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because you think that's what people only see you as, perhaps? That's my fear, personally.
I think it's just the fear of being different. I think that
but everyone's different.
Yeah.
But then there's
in theory. But like, you know, like that is like turn that frown upside down. Like in theory, yes, you know, or like if you have anxiety, don't think about it. Like I take, when you're living your life, although yes, everybody is different, I think we as humans are so guarded and we're so motivated to just be like the status quo that people don't really like celebrate differences like that. So who wants to be the one to celebrate a difference, right? And I think that might be easier for someone that's not already checking the boxes that I'm checking. You know what I mean? Because I'm already celebrating difference and this, and this, and very proud of that. Do I want to add another thing to, you know? And it's not about one, of course, because I believe that like people love who they love, and I think you're born to love, and like what gender that is doesn't matter. Like, yeah. I think that is your innate like right and drive.
It blows my mind that people today still don't see it that way.
Yeah, we live in a fucked up world. We're about to put a convicted felon on a ballot. Like
it's done. It's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
He's on the ballot.
Like, where are we? What's going on? We're in 2024 and there has been great strides made in all kinds of directions, but there is still a picture of what a woman should be, who a woman should love, like what your life path should be like. We were just talking about that. I like the fact that I'm 27 and I'm not in a serious relationship, so marriage isn't looking like immediate tomorrow, and I'm not having like children, whatever. So there's like this landscape, and to divert from that at all, like I feel like immediately I'm weird, or I'm put in a box, or like but wait, I'm like so cool, I'm so me, but like I like this or I like that, you know? So I do think navigating that is challenging, but I think life is challenging.
It is. What's cool though, and what I kind of learned from the rooms, is that there's not one person in the world that isn't going through what you're going through.
Right.
I was honestly really just thinking of like, I'm feeling an emphasis here in this conversation about just owning our differences.
Right.
And like owning our truth and our story and just what is. Like, for example, our ethnicity. Like that's where my parents are from.
Right.
I came out of my mom. Like, that's my race.
Right.
I didn't get to choose that.
Right. Yeah, it is what it is.
Also, my sexuality. I wouldn't have chose to be a lesbian.
Right, right.
As well as being an addict. Hell, I would not.
That was last on my list. God, come on.
Bottom of the list.
Right.
I would not have chosen that. But it's just like that's been part of my human experience.
Right.
I'm telling you now, and fuck whatever you think.
Right. And like just like we were saying before, like the second we can take that mentality is like really when that's ground zero. That's when the journey begins.
I'm in this moment. I am in that mentality. I don't know about tomorrow.
I'm on top of the world. Like power to the people. Yeah, absolutely. Like I think that because the fight of that is brutal. Yeah. The fight of who you are is really brutal, and there's enough fight. Like there's enough fight we don't get to control. So like the acceptance of it. I mean, we talk about this in the program all the time. Like admitting powerlessness is the first step in unmanageability. That's how we can get to any kind of relief. Is first we have to admit. and see it for what it is, and then accept the help to get to relief. And I think that mindset, I'm so grateful to really have grown up in this program, because I think that mindset I can take to almost any difficulty I'm having. Like I can fight it, and just delay relief, or I can accept it for what it is and then like go from there.
And it's a practice, because we're gonna have to do it with so many different things.
I know.
But it's really good. Acceptance and admitting powerlessness. But nobody, it's not our instinct to go ahead and be like, yeah, I have no control over this. Let me just give it up.
And I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I would rather be different. But let me just give it up. No, I'll fight. I'll fight that for a really long time. It's when the pain of fighting that becomes great enough, you accept it. And like only then. But everyone's pain tolerance is different. Mine's pretty high. Like I denied being black until I was 18. Mine is pretty high. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I think the journey that I've said journey 400 times in this podcast.
The journey.
It's the journey. I think like that has been worth it, right? I don't know that I completely go back and undo it exactly how it was played out.
I know. And then what you were saying about you telling your mom of like how things were when you grew up. I think a lot of us spend a lot of the time. I think most people, I'm honestly saying this kind of proudly.
Yeah.
Most people they're learning things in their youth, 0 to 18. By the time you grow up, you're trying to unlearn most of the shit you learned when you in those like developmental ages. And I don't know. So I think it's like, it's okay. And it's beautiful that you're even getting to experience and appreciate the black side of you.
Yeah.
In this lifetime, even though you didn't get to grow up doing so.
Yeah. When I look back on it, I will have many more years, hopefully, accepting, embracing, loving who I am and what I am than I did denying it. Because I hopefully have a lot more years left, and those years can be spent. Like another thing, the last thing I want to touch on, because of hanging out with a lot of white people, right? Or being the only person of color in the room. And because sometimes my appearance, the way I speak or whatever, doesn't fit into the box people think of black people. I feel more responsibility to like be loud and proud. Because I've had a lot of, since becoming like accepting who I am more, I've had a lot of people be like, I feel comfortable saying this to you because you're not really black, or things like that. And oh my God, all the time, and crazy shit like that. And so like a lot of times I'm a voice that you're going to hear, right? And so like that's my obligation and my responsibility to be super loud and proud about like being black and loving that, and that's okay. And also for like other people that may not get the audience that I get.
I love that.
Thanks. I just want to say that. I'm off my soapbox. Period.
What's your overall take on fuck the stigma, you think?
My overall take is fuck the stigma. Like, I think that's great. I think talking about this stuff is important. I think that having a platform to talk about this stuff and all kinds, everyone's going through something. Like, I'm sure you're not just I know for a fact fuck the stigma is not just about dealing with race relations. Like, all kinds of people from all different backgrounds are dealing with someone, and just having a platform to talk about that. And more importantly, having a platform for people to hear about that, and maybe not be at the point where we are, or maybe just beginning to examine themselves like this. That's important. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on.